Liz Coley, and welcome back to Undercover Reading. We're reading The Captain's Kid. We're at Chapter 7, A Birthday to Remember. This is Section 7, the last part of the chapter. I felt no more relaxed with the Amarin conspirators locked up than before. Sure, I'd had a low ceiling hanging over me then, fear for my friends, plus terror for Audrey's safety. But now I had a knot in the pit of my stomach about the whole purpose of the mission. I wondered how my dad could be a part of it and not see the problem at the root of everything. Secrets travel fast in a small community, and pretty soon everyone knew about the attempted hijack plot. Somehow I got credit for heroically and single-handedly subduing the two conspirators, no matter how many times I told the story the right way. Audrey was the one who knocked him out, and security arrested the other guy, I always said, but people like their hero myths, and I was cast as the leading man, rushing to the rescue Audrey from the evil clutches, etc. Okay, I had to admit liking the positive attention more than I should have. The upper graders treated me differently, to the point of asking me to meet them for zero-G workouts to teach them my balance and control tricks. Mo had stopped glaring and was positively friendly, even though Audrey made no secret of our on-again thing. Khan worshipped me a close second to Karthik. After a week of fame, I was big man aboard, undeserved as it was. School and recovering from that concussion kept my brain busy for a while, but next 7 day, I gave in to an urge that grew stronger every day. Over oatmeal swimming with syrup, I asked Dad, "Is it okay if I go visit River Swift?" Dad dropped his spoon. "Why in heaven's name would you want to do that?" "I just need to," I said. "I have some unfinished business with him." "You can't punch him out," Dad said with a curious smile. "That's against the Geneva Convention." I laughed. "And smacking him unconscious with a tray isn't?" "Not in active combat." He paused. "So, what is it? Still looking over your shoulder? Not that I blame you. Do you need to reassure yourself that he's not a threat anymore?" "Something like that," I said. "Sort of true." "I understand. Tell you what. I'll have 2 security officers take you down for a quick look. How's that?" "Fine. Thanks, Dad," I said. Blast it. So much for the private conversation we needed to continue. When the guards opened the door to the brig, River Swift was sitting cross-legged on the floor where the sofa used to be, staring at a blank spot on the wall. His head turned slowly at our approach and tipped in curiosity. He shifted weight to rise. "Keep your distance," one of the guards growled. His hand flew to his firearm. Hi," I said uncertainly. "How do you talk to a prisoner?" "I wanted to see how you're doing, what you've been up to." He gestured to the blank, white, empty room. "Nothing." His voice was hoarse. "I've done nothing." I took in the blank wall where the wall screen had been stripped. The sofas and table were gone. A faint dent in the carpet showed where the mini fridge had been de-installed. A sad, sinking feeling swamped me. What had the man done for the past week? Stare at the same spot on the wall all day? How awful. I stepped forward and the guard restrained me with a tug on my arm. "I'm sorry I didn't come before. I've been busy and I didn't realize this." River Swift rose very, very slowly, arms out from his sides. The guards bristled and stepped in front of me, weapons drawn. One of them barked, "None of that now, you back off there." He nudged me backward out of the room. "Come along, sir, that's enough excitement for one day. Captain said a quick peek only." I locked eyes with River Swift over their heads. "I'll be back soon, I promise." He nodded, but I sensed he didn't believe me. "I thank you," he said. "I was in jail, and you visited me." He smiled wryly and resumed his meditation. I fumed all the way back to my room. Yes, I knew he was a dangerous criminal. Yes, I knew he'd planted a bomb and weed-botted me and messed with the cart system on Luna and kidnapped... Oh, heck. No way would he get time off for good behavior. But those brig conditions were pathetic. Blast it, I thought we'd made a connection back there in Hub D. Somewhere after him knocking me out and me returning the favor. I needed a way to get him on my side, and for the right reasons. By the time I thumbed open my door, I had a plan to go with my purpose. I flipped on my school handheld and started downloading files from SSIS. First, all the historical information I could easily access on the intraspecies battle for Esperanza. Next, I copied Masuna's personal photos. I added files for 2 interactive detective novels I'd recently finished. Then I went off to find Dad. He was still in the cafe doing a cryptic crossword on his handheld and lingering over his coffee. Miss Jan sat in my seat, her feet up on another chair, reading her own handheld. I stopped and stared for a moment. They looked so ordinary. Dad's face was completely relaxed, and when he interrupted Miss Jan to quiz her about a clue, he smiled in a goofy, apologetic way. Part of me cried inside, part celebrated. Very confusing. The next time he glanced up for help, he noticed me. Brandon, how'd you find our prisoner? Miss Jan pulled her feet off the empty chair, but I didn't sit. I clutched the handheld behind my back. I'd like to go back and see him again, I said. What? Why, kiddo? I assure you, he's safely locked up and under 24-hour surveillance. It's not that, Dad. I just want to take him a book. He's sitting there hour after hour with nothing to do. He's miserable. Dad frowned. He's supposed to be miserable. It's prison. Please, Dad. It's just a handheld. I removed the comm chip so he can't get main computer access through it. Miss Jan smiled. Your instincts are very kind, Brandon. Gordon, don't you think? Okay. Dad surrendered without a fight. 2 against 1, I give. I was so startled at Miss Jan's intervention. It didn't immediately occur to me that she'd called Dad by his name instead of Captain. He reached out his hand. I'll deliver it myself. I don't think it's a good idea for you to expose yourself to that man. Blast it. My hopes sank again. Hopefully he wouldn't check the entire contents. Thanks, Dad. Miss Jan winked at me. Dang. The following 7 day, I asked again. Can I please visit in person? River Swift is probably ready for new reading material. I don't get this obsession of yours, Brandon, Dad said. Do you want to talk to the ship's counselor? I'm not obsessed, I protested. I can't explain it. I've been dragged into this from the start. I have a personal interest in seeing that it all turns out okay. Dad insisted on walking me over himself. I want to judge for myself whether this is an unhealthy attachment. I've got to look out for you and do what I think is best. That's my job as your captain and your father. I held in the things I might have said. 1, that Dad had certainly fouled up in the personal security area before. 2, that 14 was old enough to make reasoned decisions for myself. 3, that I'd shown a decent ability to look after myself, sort of, before. River Swift's face lit up in a way I'd never seen. He kept a respectful distance, holding out the device. Thank you, Brandon Webb. The novels you chose were engrossing. May I have access to more of the same? Dad's stern face softened and his hand left the vicinity of his weapon as he grasped the handheld. I'll have Brandon take care of it. Is there anything else? River Swift shook his head. No, sir. Thank you for your thoughtfulness and generosity. It is more than I have earned. Yes, you're welcome, Dad said gruffly. Brandon, are we done? I tossed a helpless look at River Swift. Yes, sir, Dad. Thanks. Something changed in Dad's attitude after that, because from that point it became a regular 7-day morning routine. Dad and I would check on River Swift and retrieve the handheld. I'd reload it with a combination of entertainment and whatever additional information I could dig up on Sequoiano history and culture. Dad would redeliver it later in the day. One morning I showed up at breakfast with a rolled tapestry. What the heck is that? Dad asked. It's one of Masuna's Navajo rugs from Earth. She said I could borrow it. It's special because River Swift's aunt wove it. I thought it might help cheer him up during his long, dreary imprisonment. Dad rolled his eyes. Did you tell her who it was for? Sure, of course I told her. That's why she chose this one. She's a very forgiving woman, he commented, an odd glint in his eye. Going through the food line, I grabbed an extra chocolate banana muffin. Can I take this down to River Swift? They never bring him any sweets. Dad looked at me in dismay, then shook it off. Yes, by all means, take him a muffin. He rolled his eyes to the ceiling again. Thanks, Dad. That's the end of that chapter.